Good morning, everybody. My name is Phuntsok Nyidron. I was born in Pembo, a small village near Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, to an ordinary peasant family in 1970. I didn't have the opportunity to go to school as I belong to a family blacklisted by the Chinese authority during Cultural Revolution of 1966 to 76. With consent of my parents, I enrolled in Nichongri Nunnery at the age of 17. I'm happy and honored to be here today before this global gathering to testify about the ordeal of 15 years of imprisonment I endured under Chinese communist regime in occupied Tibet. In fact, my formal sentence was 17 years. Ladies and gentlemen, let me express my sincere appreciation to the organizers for giving me this opportunity and extend my solidarity with all political prisoners around the globe. Tibet is still under Chinese communist occupation since 1959. You may all be wondering how I left Tibet when the Chinese government imposes restriction on dissidents from traveling abroad. Due to support from international communities and governments, on 15 March 2006, the Chinese government allowed me to leave for the United States on medical grounds. I'm grateful to the government of the United States and international communities. I received initial medical treatment in the US for several months and then moved to Switzerland, where I was granted political asylum. Ladies and gentlemen, during the Tibetan New Year in 1989, I, together with 8 fellow nuns in Lhasa Pago, shouted and distributed leaflets saying, "Long live Dalai Lama, free Tibet, and Chinese get out of Tibet." Some elderly Tibetan women praying in Pago advised us to leave the place. We just escaped from arrest by the Chinese police. I went again with my fellow nun to Lhasa, although the capital was under martial law, to buy construction materials for our nunnery, which was under renovation. In Lhasa, we noticed that Tibetan people were burning incense to express their jubilation on the eve of the Nobel Peace Prize award being conferred to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We were extremely delighted to hear this news. On our return to the nunnery, we were met halfway by our fellow nuns. After sharing this information, they were all overjoyed and unanimously decided to demonstrate their joy as exhibited by the Tibetan people in Lhasa. On the next day, I, together with 5 nuns, left for Lhasa to demonstrate. Since the Chinese police will notice if people entered Pago in a group, we formed 3 groups and decided to meet at a Chinese photo shop inside Pago. We learned that Chinese police in civil dress had been following us. In order to avoid arrest before protesting, without waiting one group, 4 of us started shouting, "Long live Dalai Lama and free Tibet." Within a few minutes, the People's Armed Police and the local security police came and arrested us. Another 2 nuns arrived after and also shouted the same slogans. They were also arrested by the People's Armed Police and the local security police. Coincidentally, we all met in the Gyuza prison. 2 prison guards took us individually for interrogation. They asked, "Who sent you?" and hand over the instigators belonging to, I quote, Dalai clique. I replied that I acted myself and no one instigated me. I had never met Dalai Lama in my life. The guard again posed the question that my teacher might be behind it. I said that teacher will not misguide his disciples. Then the guard asked, who the ringleader was. I took responsibility and thus was given a sentence of 9 years imprisonment. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you a typical day of beatings and torture in prison. My right arm was forced over my right shoulder and handcuffed to left arm behind my back. A guard then stood on his table and pulled me up several times by holding the handcuffs. After being untied, I had no sense of feeling in my hands. At present, I can't still hold heavy objects. Besides, my fingers were poked by a shoe-sewing machine needle. Electric batons were put in my mouth, and burning cigarettes stuck out on my face. Worse, they twisted live electric wires on my fingers, which made my whole body shake like an epileptic, and then I fell unconscious. Guards then threw cold water on my face to awaken me. When I regained consciousness, I felt nothing, but was foaming in my mouth. On that day, not a draught of water or food was given. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1992, demanded release. We shouted the whole night to demand release of 3 prison inmates who were put into solitary confinement. When the other prison inmates saw each prisoner being beaten by 4 People's Armed Police, they screamed through windows. The People's Armed Police then stopped beating us. A nun's kidney was damaged. Another one had her leg broken. In 1993, along with 13 other political prisoners, we secretly recorded songs in the prison that were in praise of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the situation of political prisoners. For this recording, my sentence was extended by another 8 years, making my total sentence of 17 years. Through these songs, we also wanted to communicate to our families that our spirits had not been broken. In prison, medical treatment was routinely denied to all political prisoners. For instance, one of my fellow prisoners died in 1995 when the Chinese authorities failed to provide immediate medical care. The situation became physically and mentally intolerable for us because of the beatings and military drill that People's Armed Police made us perform. We were in complete desperation and then went on hunger strike to end this practice. After 4.5 days, we stopped the hunger strike as People's Armed Police acceded to our demand. They made false promises and they restarted beatings several days. And I had a problem with my hands because of the tortures. In May 1998, because of peaceful demonstration, we were given a small wooden stool We were kept in Trapji prison where 12 prisoners live in one single room, eating, sleeping, and sharing one small toilet. In prison, everyone is given one small tool where one has to sit during daytime and not permitted to use sleeping bag for rest. My Buddha got wounded because of sitting on this stool. I still bear the scars. Every day we were forced to weave woolen sweaters, either one small roll of thin wool thread or one big roll of wool thread sitting on this small wooden stool. Family visits were cancelled for anyone who failed to weave their quota. Chinese authorities considers political prisoners as serious criminals. Chinese authority is not giving rights to political prisoners as guaranteed in laws. For example, general prisoners have 3 family members, whereas political prisoner can meet 1 family member in a month. When I came out of Tibet, I heard that Chinese authorities claim to have provided many rights to prisoners. Prison law of China promulgated in 1994, I quote, stipulates specifically that prisoners have the right of immunity from corporal punishment and abuses, the right of appeal, the right of communication, right of meeting visiting family members and relatives, right to education, and right to receive medical treatment. They enjoy equal rights with other citizens upon their release after completing their sentence. In February 2004, I was suddenly released from prison but remained under constant surveillance with 2 policemen posted at my home. While at home, Chinese authorities took me to meet foreign delegations, including the chairperson of the United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detention and the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom. However, at the time of these meetings, I had no clear knowledge of who these people were or about their work. I only understood the significance of these visits to me only after coming to the United States. With regard to my health condition, I'm regularly taking painkiller medicine for headache, kidney, knee, and hands because of severe torture. No, it looks like I'm healthy from outside. I'm not in a good health. Even doctor cannot diagnose all my health problems. After all these years in prison, I owe my freedom firstly to the grace of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and also to those governments, parliaments, NGOs, and UN human rights bodies that have shown concern for the Tibetan political prisoners by putting pressure on the Chinese government. I remain grateful to all of them. Given the appalling human rights situation inside Tibet, I earnestly urge every one of you to continue your support for the just cause of the Tibetan people. And I thank you very much for your attention.